Ba-ba-ba-da-ba. I'm loving it, everybody. I do believe we are live in the den. Sunday. What the hell is today? June 14th. Man, we're hitting summer here. Hitting summer. Maybe I should say summer's hitting us. Like we're going over 100 or around 110 for the last few days, at least where I'm at in the valley. Ugh. It's not fun. In fact, as it gets warmer in this room, and I kind of just like wash my hair, so my hair will probably start curling. I'll probably have one of those broccoli tops by the time we end this stream. It's not good. It's not good. I hope everybody's having a good day, though, today. And hopefully we'll have a good week upcoming. We got a few things to chat about today. In the den, first and foremost, this is just a little bit like a couple little news items I saw that are, pop culture related. Hello, Lady Gwendolyn. They've started filming Hey Man of War. How's it going? I'm gonna do there we go. I had to think about it for a minute. Where do I could do Vulcan, I could do Peace, brother. I'm tired, man. I'm tired, boss. Anyhow, they started filming, I guess, on the new Batman movie, Part 2, the Batman Part 2. Which I guess is going to have maybe Two-Face in it, at least partly. I think this could be kind of a make or break for superhero stuff. DC for sure. Hey, Raimi Butler, how's it going, man? Because, the James Gunn stuff hasn't set the world on fire, and I don't think Supergirl is going to improve on that. And the first Batman, I think, was pretty popular. I think it did okay overall. The Penguin TV series seems to have done pretty good. People seem to dig that. So this is like a series that seems like it's kind of working at the moment. And it's not really within Gunn's purview to mess with, although I don't know for sure that that's true, but I think that's kind of true. But I think, this needs to do well, I think, to sort of, emo Batman. Yeah, I didn't watch it. I heard people say, oh, it's great, man. The opening was really good. And I tried to watch the opening, and I'll be honest with you, I got bored after about 5 minutes, and I didn't even, maybe not even 5 minutes, and I didn't even finish watching the whole opening of the thing. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'll go do something else. But beyond me, I think it's done overall pretty well. And at least it has a shot. But man, if this thing comes out and it stinks, and I don't, my personal guess is that the overblown Avengers stuff they're trying to do, I just have a feeling it's going to be I don't know. I don't think it's going to do what they want it to do. That's my guess. I could be wrong, and I don't think it's going to have the impact they're hoping for. It just feels like the sort of, I'm right now watching the last season. I'm on the last season of Charlie's Angels. And this is the one where they move to Hawaii. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know. I never watched that far along. I've only caught a few episodes here and there. So I didn't even know they did that. I was talking about Sparkle Batman, sort of. They've all sort of been Sparkle Batman in movies in a weird way. But anyways, so they moved to Hawaii. That's a sure sign. In fact, even better, I just watched the last episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold, that cartoon series, which is basically the concept with it is Batmite has gotten tired of this new Batman show and wants to get it canceled. So he's doing all the things to it that get shows or canceled. Now, truth be told, these are all things shows do when they're going to get canceled to try to boost viewership. But he adds the voice of Ted McGinley as Aquaman. Batman moves to Los Angeles. They introduce a sort of like Scrappy-Doo character to the show, etc. I kind of get the feeling that what we're seeing right now with the MCU is that. Like, well, we got to ramp the spectacle up to 1 million, and then people will like us again. And it's like, nah, man, you got to get good characters and a decent storyline, humor that doesn't suck. You got to throw away the politics. You got to go back to what you were doing. You launched the MCU with Iron Man. Right now, a superhero, so there's a certain amount of spectacle involved, right? But one hero, one villain, tells the story of the character. That launched the franchise. It's not a massive spectacle. So if you're having trouble, what you need to do is go back to your roots. Not try to just keep turning it up. But they're going to turn it up because they don't want to have to admit they've screwed up and make any actual substantive sort of changes to the thing. So instead, what if this movie had every single superhero ever? And they all die. And it's like, oh, wow. That sounds really great. I can't wait to not bother watching it. Will there be 40 new popcorn buckets to go with it? Because that also, popcorn buckets now seem to be the equivalent of 3D and some of those other, concepts to try to get people into movie theaters when movies weren't getting people into movie theaters. And that's kind of where we're at. Although there's certainly a couple, movies that are getting people to come in. The Michael biopic is doing pretty good. Obsession, Back Rooms, doing pretty good. So there are a few things out there that are pulling people in. And notice, Michael's obviously, that's a big deal. That's a well-known person. But with the horror movies, outside of a YouTube audience, what are they getting? Some basic sort of, promotion. It's word of mouth. Mostly word of mouth on those things, That's what gets people into movie theaters. Somebody says, oh, you got to go watch this. It's really good. When the people come back and say, it was okay. Wait for streaming. Not a problem. Did you know Tila's shirt is see-through? Raimi asks me. Are we talking about in the... Are we talking about in the the movie? I didn't notice that in the movie. That's for sure. You trying to get me to go back to the film? Amanda War says buckets, the Funko Pops of a new generation. Yeah. Well, and they've taken the bucket concept to the point where it barely holds any popcorn. So it's only a popcorn bucket in theory, or in name, not really in function. So here you can pay a massive amount of money for this friggin' blow molded piece of plastic and get a handful of, it is a good thing I didn't notice, or is it? But and get a handful of popcorn, dude, I'd rather have the popcorn with the butter flavoring on it than, for whatever the hell that Supergirl stuff is. I mean, oh, yeah, I don't think it's going to do well. I don't think the Odyssey thing is going to do as well as people want it to and expect it to. Man, that preview, I was like, dude, this is like 90s TV movie. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a Christopher Nolan fan generally. I've not been impressed. He makes decent stuff, but I don't know if it's that great, honestly. Some dope online was saying the Odyssey is going to be the Lawrence of Arabia for this generation. I'm like, that is sad as hell if that's the case. I mean, and I'll be honest, I don't think there's anybody in Hollywood in this day and age who has the talent of the people that did Lawrence of Arabia. I think that's one of the bigger problems. You will judge people by their peers, right? And so you could say, oh, this is like the greatest director we have, right? But that doesn't mean great director. It means the greatest that is working at the moment. And in so many subtle, important ways, so much of these things they make nowadays just seem very amateurish. Very, very student film. That's what I get from a lot of this stuff. It feels like a really big budget student film. I don't think the people behind them have the gravitas, the grounding, the experience in life to make something really great. I think that's why you could do well with horror. You can do well with action. They don't require necessarily that, right? They're visceral kind of things. If you could get scared, you can make a scary movie. If you can, thrill to action, you can make an action movie. It's not that tough. They often seem to not be able to do that anymore because of the politics and stuff that they like to cram in that disrupt the storyline. But you can do all that stuff. But like really, the kind of movies that would win Oscars once upon a time. I don't know that there's people out there that can do it. Man of War says, I'll risk being the broken record, but at this stage for the remainder of the year, if it's not Werewolf or Godzilla, I can't find this. Yeah. The only other thing that I've looked at this year that I might want to go see is I thought the Street Fighter movie looked like it could be fun. Not smart, but fun. Just a fun movie. So I might check that out. We'll see. Again, I'll say, I didn't hate the Masters of the Universe movie by any means. Up to a certain point, I was having a lot of fun. It was just a big, dumb action movie with a little humor. It wasn't perfect by any means. There were issues with it, but a lot of the stuff that I feared really wasn't there, really wasn't manifesting. There was a lot of stuff I enjoyed. I was literally sitting there at one point going, dude, I might even buy this one. I might even grab a copy of this one. It's kind of fun. I'm having fun with it. Why not? Oof. And then that last act kind of hit. And again, it's not even necessarily I think what they did is they had sort of a good lesson, like you'd get in an old Masters of the Universe cartoon. But I think they kind of screwed up the teaching of the lesson with all the, with the sort of collectivist stuff. Like, I think their brains are in a place where they can't understand individuality. And like I said, that little thing with Man of War and Tila, you're the man I wish I could be. That is just the crappiest line I've ever heard in my life. And it's insulting and it's stupid. When the line should have been, something like, you were strong when I was at my lowest, I'm proud of you, etc. That's a thing between two individuals, a father and a daughter. When the guy, stuff went wrong and he felt really low. I've been there. We've all been there. Having somebody who can support you and pick you up is really great, which is what she did, and it wasn't easy. Individual moment between those two, that's great, and she could say, I got that strength from you, right? And so it's reaffirming for both of them. That's a good line. But that's a line I don't think they can write. Not a line they won't write. I don't think it's a line they can write. Because so many of these people have been so indoctrinated into collectivism and men versus women instead of individuals. They can't wrap their heads around the individual anymore. They cannot do it. It's not within their ability. It's not within everything you can't even say, go watch old stuff and you'll see. They can't because they watch it with a collectivist lens. All old stuff is now watched from the lens of collectivism. They can't get away from it. Their brains have been turned to mush. Hopefully they'll find a way out of it. But that's the thing. And all it literally did, in all honesty, what it did for me with the Masters movie was take it from a B to a C. It didn't even take it all the way to a D. It was just sort of like, well, that's kind of clumsy. Yeah, who wrote this? And some of the humor was turned up a little bit too much. Skeletor, Jared Leto was getting a little bit like he was chewing the scenery a little too hard. And so it dampened the movie for me, but it didn't ruin the movie for me. But almost all that stuff that had me going, oh, wait a minute, what? Huh? All of it was right at the end. That's why it felt like this abrupt, a different writer came in and messed with the end and didn't really do a very good job with it. But, I actually, for the most part, I enjoyed a lot of that movie. It was a fun, silly action movie. And if it's Masters of the Universe, I'm cool with a fun, silly action movie. I don't need something really deep and meaningful with that, especially if it's based kind of on the Filmation cartoons and stuff like that. Yeah. But at any rate, yeah, Leto was pretty good through most of it. It got a little, he kept kind of cranking it up a little. And by the end, I was kind of like going, all right, take it down just a little bit. Just take it down just a little bit. But for the most part, yeah, this is actually the first thing I've ever seen him perform in. I'm just somebody I hear about all the time, and mostly people not liking him. My daughter's like, oh God, Jared Leto. And I'm like, I just hear about him. I didn't watch the Suicide Squad thing. I had no interest in it. I haven't watched the Tron thing. No interest in that whatsoever. So this is the first thing, and it was fine. And it was like he was supposed to be chewing the scenery, right? They're doing the Skeletor to an extent from the Filmation cartoon, but just not with the higher register voice. But he's kind of over, and maybe a little more over the top even than the cartoon Skeletor, but they're kind of going for that. So it works. It's not like I'm saying he should have grounded his performance, but it got a little bit too much. Look, the movie's over 2 hours long. I could cut 20 minutes off of that movie. Over 2. I could cut 20 minutes off of that movie, mostly from the end, easily. It could be a tighter film. It really could be a tighter film. Although, for the beginning stuff into the middle that I was enjoying, like I was going, they don't feel like they're really wasting time. I kind of got what they were going for. It kind of worked. So it's not a terrible movie. I'll be honest with you. I think had Hollywood not screwed with people to the extent that it has, and had some interviews not been out there, I think the movie would have done better. I don't know that it would have been profitable, but I think it would have done better than it's done, because it's done pretty miserably. And I know they're saying, well, but the toys are selling out like crazy. Have a hard time believing that. And the toys are being sold by Amazon. They're the ones talking about how they're flying off. And they also made the movie. So, okay, well, let me see all the numbers. Can I get some transparency? So I don't know. Maybe they are. But I don't think, here's the thing. The movie is set to maybe lose, like a couple $100 million? Maybe more than that? Because it had a pretty good budget. Dude, amen on Alan Oppenheimer. I mean, I don't know if his voice is up to it, but they could have gone for a little higher register. Dude, I watched the first episode of the old cartoon just yesterday for the hell of it. And I'm like going, it's a fun cartoon. It is a fun cartoon. I just watch the cartoon. Don't worry about the live action stuff. But, oh shit, where was I? Now I lost what I was saying. Well, anyways, I actually liked it. I know. It's like, so if it's losing a couple $100 million, I don't think your toy sales are going to make up for that. It's fine to lose a little money as a loss leader if it's going to sell massive numbers of toys like Star Wars did. But I don't know that almost anything since Star Wars has sold toys like Star Wars did. I mean, movie-wise, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles might have. It was big. Old Masters of the Universe cartoon might have. It was huge. I gauged some of that by, my mom was a kindergarten teacher. So I'd hear about what the kindergarten kids were doing. My daughter's now a kindergarten teacher. So I got the kindergarten connection. And she would tell me, oh, man, the kids, it's all Masters of the Universe. Now, oh, it's all Turtles. We have to keep telling them to stop kicking one another, because they're all ninjas now. I haven't really heard much of that from my daughter in terms of the games they're playing being based on an IP. So I don't think they're going to be selling enough of that stuff that it's going to make up for the loss they're going to take on theatrical. I don't think that's reasonable. And if you think about it, though, Mattel licensed the film, the rights, I believe, to Amazon. So Mattel got paid. I'm sure they get a chunk of the profits, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they got paid. Mattel is making the toys. Now they're selling it through various outlets, and obviously those various outlets are going to make something too, because Mattel sells it like wholesale, and then the other place sells it retail. So if the toys are selling well, Mattel's making money off the wholesale. The different sellers are making money off the retail, including Amazon. But if Amazon's also losing hundreds of millions of dollars on the film, I don't know that retail is going to make up for it. So when they say, we're totally pleased, we're happy as pie, I don't think they are. I do not think that they are. Manowar says, didn't Mattel drop all these new Motu movies figs in schizophrenia? I don't know, but it looks like they are different. I haven't followed them particularly because I'm just not interested in them. But it does seem like they are various different sizes. So that might be an issue for them. I mean, look, collectors are going to collect, right? But I mean, how many Masters collectors are there at this point on Earth that are going to buy that much stock? So it's got to get into the hands of kids. Star Wars did not sell millions and millions of figures because of collectors. The collectors kind of came later for the most part. And it was collectible because we kids had destroyed most of our Star Wars figures playing with them. So not a ton of them, comparative to the original sales, probably survived. Or at least some big percentage didn't survive. You make the money off of the toy sales to kids. But see, that's like not the market that it used to be. So they've had to sort of rely on collectors, but collectors aren't a replacement. It's the same with comic books. Selling it, through the comic shops to collectors who were getting older and older and older was not making up for selling it to kids. As the kids left the marketplace, the sales dropped and dropped and dropped, right? It was like, it's all they had. So they focused on those, adult comic book collectors because they had money and they were willing to spend it, but it didn't replace the kids in the least. It really didn't. I just made a whole video talking about some of the figures. When comic books crashed, they crashed. They crashed hard. We're talking about nowadays. Nowadays ain't the crash. It really isn't. The crash happened a few decades ago, and it hasn't been better for a long time. So, the toy sales are great but I will say, I think honestly, the movie should be doing better than it is. But I think they managed to talk a lot of people out of it. And that's the problem. That is the problem. So there we go. But that all started with a discussion of the Batman Part 2. Starting filming, apparently. I also saw they're doing a live action Jim and the Holograms TV series from the people that did Westworld. My daughter liked Westworld, so she'll probably like the Jim thing because she's the audience for it. It got me thinking, though. One of the things that was one of the reasons they did the Masters of the Universe film was because the Barbie film did so good. It did really well. Barbie targeted towards girls, Masters of the Universe targeted towards boys. Okay. It occurs to me that when you're doing an IP targeted towards girls, you can put more of the politics that are kind of the thing in Hollywood right now into it without having a major impact, because women overall tend to skew more towards that line of political thinking overall as a demographic. You're probably cutting out far fewer women with those politics from wanting to go see a movie than you're cutting out men from a movie that they want to go see. So I could see them starting to really aim towards the female demographic sort of IPs like Jim and the Holograms, who knows what else, because it will allow them to do what they want to do with these movies without it impacting the ticket sales as badly. Now what they really need to do is set up a second division, so to speak, for men's films that will cut a lot of that political stuff out. Not put other political stuff in, just cut out the politics in general. And make some movies for guys, action, comedy, maybe a little bit, slightly risque comedy. Dude, honestly, if you're talking about a male audience, documentary is not a bad way to go. There's dramas that will sell them in too, and then, have the women's division that does those IPs and does stuff that tend to draw a bigger female audience, romantic comedies, or just comedies that more are skewed towards women. Action that's skewed towards women. You could certainly do that, I don't know if it'll be quite as big, but you could do that. I think they need to sort of separate the two at this point, because the political stuff hurts the male targeted movies a lot more than the female. And if they just focus on the female targeted movies, they're cutting out half their audience. It's just not a good way to go. Jim and the holograms was kind of fun. I remember it would come on like after G.I. Joe, and I don't think they ever, they never crossed over, but you could tell they were in the same universe, right? All those things. You could kind of tell, because I think you probably hear my dog barking in the background. My daughter and a friend are going to Disneyland. I think she just arrived to pick her up. They're going to drive there. Anyhow, you can kind of tell there was I think there was a character that was sort of like a reporter who crossed over between different things that was kind of based loosely on Geraldo Rivera. I know he was in G.I. Joe. I swear he showed up in Jim, and I swear he showed up in the Inhumanoids at one point. Okay. Oh, there you go. Ramey's saying exactly what I was saying. Okay. So there we go. Yeah. So they're all sort of crossed over, which, by the way, there's your universe if you wanted to do it. And I've mentioned this before. There was a live action Jim fan film that you can find on YouTube. It was what it was, but they did actually have the Baroness in the live action Jim thing that they did, fan film. And they did a great job on her, except they didn't do the accent. You gotta have the accents with the Baroness. I'm sorry, but that's kind of the point. She's not American. She's like German, kind of fake German, but still. Manowar says, remember the study that cited boys wanted to inhabit the hero, whereas girls tend to mold them to reflect themselves. Yeah. And so they want different things. And that used to not be a problem. Hollywood was able to crank out stuff for guys, stuff for women, stuff that kind of cut for both. And it was not that big a deal, but they can't do it anymore. They don't have the ability. A couple other topics to chat about. Have to say rest in peace to Gene Shalit, legendary film critic with legendary hair. I can remember him coming on the TV when I was a kid. I don't know if it was like the Today Show or Good Morning America. I want to say it almost had to be the Today Show because that's what we watched usually. I don't even remember what it takes he had on films. I just remember he was kind of funny and he was kind of fun, and Remy had a crush on Jim Siga. That's legit. I mean, and then you got the Misfits if you're walking on the wild side. So Gene Shalit was he seemed like a fun dude. He seemed like a cool guy, cool, sort of nerdy and weird guy. We had a lot of back in the day. I miss that. I don't know. The weird people nowadays are like, the weird people in the old days used to be like, yeah, why not? At any rate, Godspeed to Gene Shalit, passed away this last week. Just one of the great critics from that period. And I honestly preferred him significantly to Siskel and Ebert, who were both a little, I don't know. I didn't agree with Siskel and Ebert on a lot of things. Anyways, also, rest in peace to Margaret Carey, the model for Tinkerbell, who, if we're all being very honest, Definitely the hottest character that Disney ever produced back in the Golden Age. You know, the figure, but also the attitude is what makes her cool. And she also did the voice of a character named Crystal Mace on Space Angel. If you've never watched Space Angel, it is, yes, one of those cartoons that's mostly still images where they had the filmed mouths talking with the art. So it's kind of weird, kind of goofy. However, Space Angel has some pretty cool storylines. And Space Angel was designed by Alex Toth. So the art in the thing and the designs in it are top tier. Really awesome. If you've never watched Space Angel, check it out. And Crystal Mace is frankly kind of hot. And I don't know if that's because she was just designed by Alex Toth, who had a way with drawing women, or if it's because they also used Margaret Carey to model her, because frankly, Margaret Carey kind of has a look that works with Alex Toth. So I don't know if it's a little of both or one or the other or what, but Space Angel, very cool cartoon. So rest in peace to Margaret Carey, who also had she had a good life from what I read, you know, outside of entertainment. She had a good life, and Godspeed to her as well. Manowar says, Siskel and I could line up on occasion if Ebert hated. I knew it was a must see. Yes, Ebert did hate Star Wars. Ebert to me was the more, what's the word I'm looking for here? I think he thought he was artsier than he actually was. And he wrote, a Russ Meyer movie. So, like, I don't know why he thought he was. I know there's a word I'm looking for and I'm not finding it. But at any rate, yeah, Ebert was kind of full of crap a lot of times, in my opinion. Siskel was the more personable, I think, of the two. Overall, I preferred Siskel for sure. But Russ Meyer, I saw this. Pretentious is the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Ramey. Why was that? I had precocious in my head, and I'm like, that is not the word. But precocious was like a very effectively blocking pretentious from getting to the front of my brain. But I was reading an interview with from Russ Meyer. I think it was because I clicked on something. I follow Tura Satana's account on Twitter. I think I clicked through to an interview, but they said, it's YouTube, I can't use my words. They said, Russ Meyer said that, he goes, people think that I'm in love with boobs. Roger Ebert goes beyond me, like way beyond me. So there's a little something that I guess a lot of us guys have in common with Roger Ebert. He really liked boobs. But other than that, don't think I had a lot in common with the dude. I just remember too, I had a lot of left-wing friends who suddenly became huge fans of Roger Ebert when he would say really mean stuff about Republicans towards the end of his life. And I always thought it was funny. It's like, I have never heard you people talk about Roger Ebert ever about anything. And all of a sudden, you just think this guy's the bee's knees. It's like, oh boy. Yeah. Anyways, just funny to me. Let's talk about a couple new acquisitions in the den. Now, I actually already did a video on these because I really needed a Friday video. Normally, I would show these off on a live stream, then maybe do a video. I said, no, I'm going to do that. But I wanted to still show them off here in case anybody hadn't seen it. Mattel has put out their new DC line. Now, these are their DC action figures for kids. I guess we could take Margaret Carey off of there for just a moment, although she does brighten the place up a tad. So we got a Flash figure. Now, I also ordered the Superman figure. He is delayed for whatever reason. Seems odd since he can move at the speed of light. But so we got the Flash figure, which I will say, I actually set him up. Look, kind of looks like he's running. I was able to stand him up without him falling over in this position, which is pretty impressive. for an action figure. And if we get close in, you can maybe kind of get an idea of the sculpt on the face, hopefully not too blurry. So we got Flash, and Flash comes with some special effects that are on a sprue that Mom and Dad are going to have to remove. So they're going to love that. But you can kind of attach these so it looks like he's running real fast. And the other one is Batman, who, frankly, is pretty darn cool looking. Whoops, let me see if I can straighten him up a little bit. And put the hand back there. Maybe you can zoom in on him. So we got Batman. We got soft goods cape. I happen to have him holding his Batarang. But I got to tell you what, I'm pretty impressed with these. Decent range of motion. Now, these are designed for kids. So they don't have the range of motion or of posability as the collector items, but they are $13, which is a good price, a really good price. And Batman does comes with this thing you could use to create a like a weapons rack for him, which I could have just put together on my one video, and I didn't end up doing it. So that's like the weapons rack for Batman that will stand up. Well, yeah, okay, it actually stood up because he comes with a sprue of different Batarangs. There's his little, oops, over here. There's his little, grappling gun thing, etc. Different things that you can equip him with. So, $13, man. That's pretty darn good. Again, they're toys, but action figures are all toys. We can call them collectibles, but they're still toys. So at any rate, though, pretty good. I'm really impressed. The first images I saw, I was like, I don't know if I'm into these or not, honestly. But these are pretty good. I can't wait now to get the Superman and check it out. They also have a Joker, and they got a Robin. I think they got the Robin with I think they have one version with a bike, but I'm not positive. And they have John Stewart Green Lantern. So that's their initial wave of the toys. The collectibles are coming later. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with Mattel, and they were easy to buy. I didn't have to go to any weird lengths like you often do with McFarlane. So frankly, I'm okay with seeing what Mattel's going to do with the line. And these are supposed to be 6.5 inches tall, so 1/11 scale. But like I showed in the video, because I happen to have Wasps on the desk. Here's Batman, here's Wasp. She's Marvel Legends. Pretty close in terms of scale. So I think these things, they'll scale pretty well with Marvel Legends figures, which is kind of cool as well. If you wanted to, if you are somebody who likes to make dioramas or whatever and pose them, or you just want to have like everything the same scale on yourself, and you like some Marvel and you like some DC, I think they'll go together pretty well. Manowar says, oh, wait a minute. I missed, homegrown tomatoes, dude. I know. It's the one thing that really sucks about Vegas is all the food's got to be shipped in. It's like Hawaii practically. So you never get the really good stuff. Nothing better than a fried bologna sandwich with homegrown tomatoes. Yeah. BLTs as well. Oh, I grow tomatoes here sometimes. Tomatoes actually will grow fairly well here, but the cherry tomatoes and grape tomatoes do better because they grow faster. And our problem is you got to get started like in late February, get things into the ground. They got to have time to develop a root structure, which can be tough because the soil can be kind of clay. And I mean, I've amended my soil with a lot of sand, etc., but still tends to clump. So it's hard for the roots to get low, and then you got to water really deep so they can survive the summer heat when it hits, because it'll roll in May. And the problem is you end up getting if you have bigger tomatoes, they tend to split. And then you got to be a little iffy on whether or not you're going to eat them. But the cherry tomatoes and the grape tomatoes were great. And what we kind of finally figured out with those is, you can put them on salads and stuff, but we just started making salsa. I'd cut them like in half, throw them in a blender, blend them up a little bit. We'd throw in some beans, some corn, spices, etc. And then this is something my sister-in-law told us. And then we put them on the put them in a pot on the oven and kind of bring it to a little bit of a boil, cool it down, and made great salsa. Really great salsa. Oh, we throw some avocado in too. But yeah, but I love just big tomatoes, ripe red. Oh, they're so good. Manowar says, Dynamite Fire and Ice miniature board game finally arrived this week after a 4-year wait. And Mezco Warpaint Arnold Conan is due Tuesday. Very nice. Very nice. Remy says the new DC Mattel toy looked great. Yeah. Oh, okay. And he says they're selling well. That's good. I like to hear that because, I mean, okay, a lot of them are going to sell to collectors, but I hope kids are getting these things and playing with them and having fun. And I kind of like the fact that these, I mean, it's a slightly different, bat symbol, like kind of, the black with the gold around it instead of like the oval. But like, this is pretty classic Batman. And this is very classic, Barry Allen Flash, or I mean, it could be even Wally West Flash. Their costumes are pretty close, but it's not like sort of here's some new weird version of these characters. It's pretty traditional. So I kind of dig seeing that. Rainey says, trick to use 5-gallon buckets. Yeah. And I should. But the thing with buckets here is they heat up a lot faster, and like right now we're hitting 110. And we've been hitting 110 somewhat. We had a little cooler period, but for like a couple, 3 weeks. So it's just hard to grow things in Vegas. Stuff, but the tomatoes do reasonably well. You just got to get a really early start on them. And a couple times I've tried to do the bit where it's like, I'll buy a bigger plant, grown from the nursery, but I found that it just, it's bigger. It has more roots, but it still doesn't have the root system that it needs. And you got to water like really deeply in Vegas to make this stuff work. And the truth is, it would probably be cheaper for me to get on an airplane, fly back to Iowa, pick a bunch of tomatoes and fly back here when you calculate all the water that I'm using to grow tomatoes. So we mostly stick to the small stuff, but, yeah, Vegas is, different years. It changes, but so there's 2 things that I got this week. The Mattel Batman and Flash. It's good. It's pretty good. It makes me excited to see what they do with the collector type stuff. I liked the fact that McFarlane did some deep cuts. I didn't like the fact that it was very difficult to buy them. And I'm hoping, like with Hasbro, with their Marvel Legends, dude, if you wait a real long time, you might not get them, but it's easy. You just go buy them, and with McFarlane, it's like, well, you got to buy it from this place. Well, you got to buy all 6 of these. Like I wanted to get the Power Girl figure with the superpowers because I was trying to collect sort of the dudes from Justice League International and Europe. But I have to buy all 6. Well, I don't want all 6. So now I see Power Girl show up on eBay for like $30 or something. And it's like, I don't really want it that bad. Couldn't I just buy the damn figure I want? No, this is exclusive through GameStop. Well, GameStop, if it's exclusive at GameStop, the friggin' link won't work for 2 days. And when it does work, you got about 15 minutes to buy the figure and it's gone, except maybe it'll show up later on friggin' on Amazon. I just want to buy the damn figure. Why does this have to be difficult, McFarlane? There's at least 4 figures over the last few months that I would have bought that I couldn't. And I don't think I'm the only one. I don't think I'm being specifically targeted. So I'm guessing there are hundreds or thousands of people who are having trouble with this. And if all of those people, you're talking about hundreds or thousands of figures that you're not selling that you potentially could. So I'm hoping that Mattel is going to be more like Hasbro and just get the damn stuff out there so you can buy it without playing games. But we'll see. We will see. Yeah, well, if they'd survive, I'd take it. But yeah, who knows if the way the mail works these days, if they'd ever show up or, put them definitely in a plastic bag. Maybe they'll show up as salsa when they get here. Anyhow, so those are a couple. Oh, one other thing that showed up. I'm going to review a couple comics later. My daughter had an Amazon order. A couple weeks ago, she had one. And she got something extra in it. It was like the little bubble things for levels. but not like a level that I own. It was a different shape. So now about a week ago, she got another free bonus from Amazon, for really nice of them. She got the Blu-ray for Frankenhooker. I was like, dude, this takes me back to the old video store. So we got a Blu-ray now of Frankenhooker. And I'm going, should I watch it? I've never watched it. I don't know. If you only see one movie this year, it should be Frankenhooker from Bill Murray. Anyways, we just thought it was funny. Of like all the thousands of movies that could show up unexpectedly in an Amazon order. I mean, thank God my daughter is in her 20s. And like, you know, if it was an Amazon order for her and she was 10, I might be a little bit annoyed that managed to slip in. And then some poor schmuck out there didn't get his Blu-ray. God, I hope it's not the last one, because that would be terrible. So let's look at a few coming attractions that are popping up. I don't have a ton of them today, honestly. I talked about Dan Thompson last stream and a book he had that he was thinking about putting out. This is one that he has just put out with Chris Savino. You can grab it on Amazon. I want to say it was $17. Stories in it include The Earl of Sandwich, which is about a kid named Earl who loves sandwiches so much that he eats a bad egg salad sandwich, goes to bed with a stomach ache, and ends up in a land of sandwiches ruled by an evil ant queen. How can you go wrong with that? Oh, and as he says, hilarity ensues. And then Thompson's story in it is Leonard 2121. Love the reference. In which Leonard is a kid from today who accidentally time travels to a spaceship ready to launch that he created in the future. Hilarity ensues. These are like classic looking comic strip kind of drawings. Very fun stuff. He does some more serious stuff too that's really, really good. And so you might want to check it out. There's some other stories thrown in there as well. It's not just those two. The egg salad sandwich thing, this is something my wife and I were talking about just a few days ago. I have a history, or had a history, in college of getting egg salad sandwiches out of those vending machines. And mind you, there were other sandwich options. I always went for the egg salad. And I always regretted it. And yet, running to class, don't have time for lunch, I'd get another egg salad sandwich. So we were laughing about that just recently. So yeah, basically Earl is a person I get it, man. I understand Earl. Lady Wendell Child is off to California. Say a prayer. Yes, please, God, please let her be safe. At this point, I'm more worried about California than I am about the drive to California. Have you ever driven from Vegas to California now? On the interstate, it's like city traffic practically. When my wife and I, before we were married, would make a trip out there to go to Disneyland. So this would have been late 80s, early 90s. It was still like, you know, it was kind of empty. Once you got outside of Vegas a little bit, traffic was pretty sparse. And then we made that drive later on in life, maybe like, you know, God, it may be a decade later. And I'm driving and I'm like going like, where are all these cars from? How we're on the open highway. That's over with. So it's actually not a bad drive. It's not like you're out in the middle of nowhere anymore, but I hope they have fun. Lady Willen, I had to approve Frankenhooker. You had to approve it for me, or you had to approve it for somebody else? That's funny. Do you approve of Frankenhooker? I won't say it. I had a line for my daughter that I was teasing her about it with. I won't say it. Super 7 has some. I was going to. Yeah, I know. I was actually going to. Man of War, I was going to start this stream with that, and I forgot. Super 7 has some new O-Ring Joes up for sale on their site, Wave 9. And I think I've seen them elsewhere on other sites to buy as well. You can get the set of 4 for $100. You can get them each $25. They don't really give you a deal if you buy all 4, but I mean, I guess you only have to click once instead of clicking 4 times. In this wave, we have Cobra Viper Gunner, Zartan from the comics, Lady J, and Deep Six out of his diving suit. I think he's got a bucket hat on. That's the worst hat I've ever seen. Buy a hat like that, they give you a free bowl of soup. Well, it looks good on you, though. Any rate, so those are out now. I got the Cold Slither Zartan. I'm looking up at my shelf now, trying to remember what the hell I bought. I got the Cold Slither Zartan O-Ring, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a little more, the colors are a little brighter. His colors were brighter anyways, but it doesn't look exactly like the old figures, but it's close, and it's the same scale. So, you know, if any of these interest you, they do deeper cuts with these figures. Makes sense, because obviously all the originals are out there anyways in one form or another. So they tend to do stuff that was like only in the cartoon that never got a figure, but you might want to check those out. 60. Marvel Legends Doc Samson figure is for sale currently. I went and checked. It is still on Amazon for pre-order. If you dig Doc Samson, which I do, it was $35 when I got it the day it came out. It's $38 now. Inflation, man. It's fast. Delivery is September, but it's a really cool figure. I always thought Doc Samson was cool. There's an angry face. There's a happier face. It's probably the one I would use. And it'll now scale with Batman. So if I need Batman to fight Doc Samson, I can do that. Yeah, the hair to me, it should be a little bit lighter. It seems a little dark green, but other than that, it's pretty cool. And I like the costume. I always thought was cool. And you know what's funny? I'm pretty colorblind, mostly red-green colorblind, but my colorblindness will dip into other areas. I got the test done by a woman once at the eye doctor, and her exact words were, "Wow, you're severely colorblind." So, when I was a kid, I had an old ratted up Hulk comic. I don't know where it came from. It was the first superhero comic I've ever owned. I still got it. And I figured out what issue number it was. I don't remember now, but it had Doc Samson in it. So that was one of the first characters I ever experienced in the Marvel Universe. And I thought he was blonde because of my color blindness. It was only later. Oh, green hair. Gamma rays. Oh, yes. Okay. I guess that makes sense. So, but I think the reason was because it was a lighter green, and that's why with my color blindness, I just thought it was blonde. But yeah, so cool. Yeah, only and I don't know if the carpet matches the drapes or anything. I don't know. I'm not even going to ask. But anyhow, that's up for sale now. I grabbed it the first day because I'm like, love Doc Samson. I'm definitely. Oh, that's something else. I'm looking at his belt. That another thing I thought of with that Batman figure is that the belt does come off. I mean, it's a separate piece. And if you look on the back, I'm going to look at a little bat badonkadonk here. It's kind of got these things extending out of it, which I'm guessing. Let's find out. Because I hadn't even noticed that before. Can we stick the bat? Oh my gosh. Dude, you could stick the batarangs on his belt behind his back. That's pretty rad. I'm trying to view these toys from the mind of a 10-year-old, okay? 10-year-old me would have been all over these things. I mean, we were happy with Superpowers and Secret Wars, and they're not nearly as cool as these things. $13? Come on. This is great. Anyhow. But yeah, looking at his belt, I'm like, oh yeah, the Batman belt. I forgot about that. So that's out now. You could still buy it, and it might be on Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. It probably is. Could even be on Hasbro's site, but I picked one up on Amazon. Hasbro also has some new G.I. Joe classified figures up for sale. I've seen them at Hasbro Pulse. Again, they're probably elsewhere. They are Action Man, which goes for $43. Mm-hmm. Grand Slam with Hal, $85. If I was going to buy any of them, it would be this one, because I only allow myself the G.I. Joe Classifieds based on the original figures, the original wave. But I'm not, because I'm not going to spend $85. And Clutch with Viper Mark II for $110. So those are all out there right now as well. Pretty cool figures. I dig them. Robert Geronimo has announced that Blood Realm is returning. It's going to be published as a 2-volume saga. It's going to hit crowdfunding in 2027. So we got a ways to wait, but I'm pretty stoked because it's a cool story, cool comics, and I'm glad that it's going to survive the breakup that he had with his former publisher. I won't get into all that kind of stuff, but so Blood Realm is going to make a return. If you've never read Blood Realm, you might want to see if you can find it out there. It probably is very difficult to find at the moment, but it's pretty cool. It's fantasy with a little bit of sci-fi worked into parts of it. It's a cool storyline, and I was really getting into it. They did some neat stuff. So that's coming in 2027 to crowdfunding. If you're a fan, you might want to keep on the lookout for that. And if you follow Robert Geronimo on X, you'll get all the updates. And then looping back around to Super 7, Universal Monster O-Rings are up for sale in the new wave. The new wave includes Frankie, his bride, and the Mummy, joining Dracula, Gilman, and Wolfman, $25 each. But on their site, Dracula and Wolfman are $20, and Gilman is nowhere to be found, which is the one I probably would have bought if I was going to do it, because I am a big fan of his. But I got to admit, Dracula and Wolfman for $20 it's not terrible in this day and age. It's not terrible. But there you go. Those are O-ring figures, kind of like the G.I. Joes. So if you need, Zartan to, fight Frankenstein, they got you covered. They got you covered. So that's really it for coming attractions this week. We got a few more things to look at review-wise in the comic book sphere. I can scoot myself over a little bit now. This arrived yesterday from Rippaverse. I guess I need to do it this way. There we go. This is the Great War of Separation #3. Chuck Dixon, Jack Herbert, Marco Lesko. This is telling the story sort of historically in the Rippaverse of how the United States broke up, specifically focused on Texas, where the Rippaverse is mostly set. Get an idea? I'm like, yeah, there we go. I got to do it this way, or else I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so there, little idea of the artwork. Very cool. Some great imagery in this one. You're getting a lot more of the superheroes, the supervillains. There's a whole bunch of mercenaries going after Texas in this one. There's this whole interesting little twist that I certainly didn't see coming that Chuck Dixon threw in. Where's the one darn shot I'm looking for? There we go. So here's one of these mercenaries skydiving into Austin, Texas to make an attack. And then we get another one with the good guys coming in after them. So I grabbed the cover that has the gorilla and the mummy, because anytime, he's not really a mummy, anytime you can get a cover with a gorilla and a mummy in life, you want to do that. So good book. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed that one as well. Can't wait for, I think #4 might be the final one. I'm not positive on that. All right, now I'm going to annoy everybody by making this noise. But that's life, folks. Also, I was really happy to get this. Scribbles from Kelsey Shannon. This is one of those things I crowdfunded, I want to say, not 4 years ago. It wasn't quite that far, but a couple years that I was like, oh boy. He has a personal note apologizing to people for how long it took in it. Kelsey's just a good dude, and kind of disappeared from social media, the internet for a while. He used to do the drawing show with Lepresti and Brohawk and them. He's a funny dude, man, and I like him a lot, and I'm glad things are going better for him. What's cool about Scribbles is that rather than it being like finished art, what he provides is breakdowns for covers and interiors that he's done so that people can see how these things are put together and how he does his work. So it's almost like when you watch somebody online doing like a draw stream where they're showing their process. He's kind of showing his process through here of how he produces his art, which is really good. So very happy to get this because I kind of was like, that might be one I never get to see. It had been long enough. I was just worried and honestly kind of worried about him, hoping things were okay because he's a good guy. So that came out very cool. If you are, definitely like a younger artist or just new to art, trying to get into comic books, it'd probably be a great thing to look at and see how he puts things together before he gets to the finish. Because he tends to work in layout and then ink that straight to finish rather than lay out pencils and then inks. But, Ramey, see you later, man. Thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, half a decade delivery is a safe bet of money. Yeah, I mean, look, most of the stuff that I crowdfund, honestly, it shows up on time. It really does. I got a list of a few specifically, and 2 of them are from the same person that I know I'm not going to see. Most of the crowdfund stuff I do get on time. I think there was an early wave of folks you couldn't trust, and I think it's gotten a lot better. But I did see on X, Kelsey posted an image. I reposted it. He's just written and drawn a book for Caroline Munro that's going to be coming up. He thinks it's going to be coming out around San Diego comic convention time. So the page looks really cool. So that's something I'll probably go ahead and grab. Other than that, I don't have any other major reviews, but I did make a comic run yesterday. It'd been a couple weeks since I'd been to the comic shop. There were a couple books out that I wanted to grab. And so I made the run. They restocked the dollar table. And so I got a bunch of, I got a bunch of dollar books. So I grabbed a few issues of The Mighty Thor from the period. This is actually the period that I really started collecting it in. I'm doing the whole retrospective of Walt Simonson. But I started buying comics like right at the end of his run. And his were some of the first back issues that I ever bought because I was so amazed by it. But these are the ones that I was getting like on a regular basis where Ron Frenz was essentially channeling Jack Kirby. And I was a fan. This is kind of that point where I'm starting to discover that Jack Kirby's awesome, even though he looks different from a lot of the current day stuff that was going on. So I snagged a bunch of these Thors that I've wanted to rebuy from the dollar table, which is really cool. I was very happy about that. And then a few of the later ones that I'm trying to sort of explain. This is me trying to get so it's not shiny. There we go. A few of the later ones too, that I'm sort of trying to get into and check them out. And I might not stick with all those. This is like the Eric Masterson stuff. I might not stick with it, but I figured I'd give it a try. And especially, I've been able to buy them generally, out of the dollar bins. So why not? Grabbed a few more Captain Marvels. So I'm putting together a decent number of these. Big fan of Captain Marvel, though. Partly just because the character design is so damn cool. Just love that stuff. These are all ones my wife grabbed. Here, I found all these. Okay. I'll buy them. If you handed them to me, then I guess you can't complain that I paid for them. So, bunch of Captain Marvels. I grabbed a couple Strange Tales that I'm missing. This is another one that I bought when I first got into comic books. And this, I just hit my Mac. I hope that didn't kill everybody. This was the first Strange Tales I ever bought. Off the rack in 7-Eleven. So I was super stoked to get this. This was the first time I think I'd ever seen the Black Cat. Was in that one. Yeah. Terry Austin. So I was really happy to get that one. Those are the ones. And then they had a bunch of Marvel fanfares. Think about this. These were $1.50 when they came out. Now, with inflation, they'd probably be $6 or $7 books nowadays, and I'm grabbing them for $1. But I was like, my wife was looking through the bins with me, like, oh, if you see Marvel fanfare, grab them. Because, I mean, look, the Marvel fanfares weren't always rad, but they were usually pretty darn cool. Look at that. How freaking awesome is that? Oh, you got the fourth. Yeah. Look at that one. Oh, they were still getting away with the. Was that the Yellow Claw? I think that was a Yellow Claw. Grabbed an Iron Man from the era that I first started buying them in. It was kind of like Old Home Week. Grabbed a few Green Lanterns. There we go. Got some John Stewart in there. Get out of the way. Hal Jordan. And then we got a few. They had a few Jugheads in the dollar bin. So I was like, cool. Dig it. I like the older stuff. Now, these I think are probably from the 80s. Oh, no, January 78. Okay. So late 70s. I just finished filming my hour-long retrospective of the Archie rivals from back in the day. The late 70s is when it actually started to fall apart for them. But anyway, so grab some of those. Oh, there's another Green Lantern. I guess I got that one out of order. And then the new stuff that I grabbed, they're putting out facsimiles of the JLA Avengers, which I never read. So I grabbed the first one. Okay. This one. Look, this is the cover that they had. All right. This is the cover they had. And it's the series I'm collecting, and it'll probably get me in trouble. So we'll put this up for just a moment. But Tigress Island, number 4. I have not read that one yet, but I'm going to probably read it today. That's a 5-issue miniseries. I've liked it, dude. It's good. It's based on like the exploitation type movies from the 70s, but it's pretty solid actually. And then I've just recently started getting into these. This is a total reader copy, but it was only $6, so I went ahead and grabbed a Golden Age Daredevil, which I think is the era when Daredevil wasn't actually in the comic. It was these kids, the little wise guys. But dude, the art in these from Biro is insane good. Unbelievably good. So I'm like, I want to look through. I know they had some. Let me look through. $6. I was like, do it. We'll do $6. We'll do $6. Not great shape, but anyway. Yeah, 35 cents cover price. Yeah, I didn't even look. I just like, oh, cool. Old Jugheads. I'll grab those. That's why I tell my wife. I'm always going, okay, if you see anything over $1, generally speaking, nah, I'm not interested. 75 cents and $1 is about where I started. And that's kind of where my interest ends. And then it extends back to the Golden Age. That's what I grabbed from the comic book shop. I spent more than I thought I was going to, but I hadn't been there for like a couple different weeks. So it evened out. That'll do it, I think, for Dad's Den today. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Everybody who's in the chat. Man of War, Ramey, Lady Wendolyn, of course. Thanks for being there. Thanks for chatting. I always enjoy that. That's kind of why I do this thing. Coming up this week, Monday, Thor number 359 in my Mighty Thor Mondays, which I have to make that video today. Wednesday, I'm doing my big Archie's Rivals retrospective. We are going to be rolling through from the 40s to the 80s. Archie comics. We're going to chat about what they were doing, kind of leading the way. But we're going to look at all of the books that came out in that teen humor and going into the working girl humor stuff like Millie the Model as well. All the stuff. It's amazing how many books there were. It's amazing how big the humor side of comic books once was. We're going to touch on the romance books a little bit there as well. I learned a lot putting this together. It started off as me going, there were probably 15, 20 of these different kind of books. I'll show some covers on a live stream. Wow. There was so much more, and I had a lot to learn, and I learned a lot, and I looked at a lot of books. Gorgeous art in a lot of these things. The people who were doing them, really interesting people, really interesting names that were working on this stuff. And I also discovered who kind of invented the romance genre in comic books, which amazed me. So there's some cool stuff in there. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's going to take me a while to edit. Although I did a pretty clean read on that one. There's not a ton of editing, but it's like over an hour. I think it'll be just under an hour when I'm done editing it. But and then Friday, if I get off my butt this week, I'm going to do a review of Splinter in the Mind's Eye, that old Star Wars novel, the one that was designed as the potential sequel to Star Wars if Star Wars didn't do that well. So if Lucas had to come in with a much lower budget to do a sequel, it was going to be that one. There would have been no Empire. There would have been no I am your father. There would have been no Luke has a sister. None of that stuff would have happened because none of it was really planned. It kind of came later. It's a pretty cool story. Alan Dean Foster. And I think it could be made into a movie today. If Disney wants to do something and they want to bring back the characters, obviously, they got to recast them. But if they want to do it, I think this is a story that would work very well since it was designed to be a movie in the first place. So we're going to do that on Friday. So Thor, Archie, and a little Star Wars this week in Dad's Den. I hope you'll tune in. But God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. Read some comics. Enjoy life a little bit, especially when it's getting you down. Sometimes you got to pick yourself back up. I got a little bit of work to do today, and I've got to worry about my daughter going to Disneyland, but hopefully it'll be a good day overall. But hopefully you have a great week ahead of you. I will see you later. Bye-bye, folks.